Hello, hello! How are we? I'm so excited. So welcome to the first ever, I'm just doing some sharing if you're thinking why is she looking down there. Welcome to the first ever Unstoppable series. My name's Heidi Mavir, the Unstoppable Woman. This is a weekly feature here on my page. I'm a coach, public speaker, all-round badass. And what I'm going to do over the next couple of months is that I'm going to be speaking with different people, selected guests, on a Sunday evening at 7 o'clock. So I'm just going to add this week's guest, and then we're going to get started. So our guest this evening is Caroline Bramwell. She'll tell you a little bit about herself in a minute when she joins us. You'll see her repeatedly in the top corner. The technology is working. Amazing. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
It's working! We did a test on the tech this afternoon and it wasn't working. It was all a bit scary. So everyone in my house is off the internet. Like my daughter's in the bath, my stepson's watching a DVD. Like everyone's been told to turn their Wi-Fi off.
I've told mine the same.
I'm hoping that we can maintain a decent amount of connectivity. So just give me 1 second. I'm just gonna give this a quick share. While I'm doing that, Caroline, do you want to introduce yourself a little? I know that you're used to introducing yourself. So do you want to talk a little bit about what got you right here?
Yeah, of course. Hi. I'm really pleased to be here actually tonight. Why am I unstoppable? I mean, that's actually quite a question for myself, actually. I'm a mother, a wife, run my own business for 28 years, and everything looked rosy until I had ulcerative colitis. So I was diagnosed with an inflammatory bowel disease. Everything kind of went down the pan in every sense of the word, and imploded, where I ended up losing control and becoming really housebound, hospitalized. And it takes quite a momentous event like that, a life-changing event, to really make you reevaluate what your life's going to be like going forward. So I made some tough calls, had major surgery, and turned to sport off the back of that, just as my motivation to get fit. And I will admit to everyone right now, I'm a couch potato. I still am a couch
You
potato.
talk about yourself as a kind of a recovered couch potato, don't you?
Oh, yes, definitely. Well, that was me. But I turned to sport after surgery, just a way of losing the weight that I put on from all the steroids that I'd been on. And I know we've got some friends watching at the moment who, there was one guy who's watching there, James. He actually met me on my very first London to Paris bike ride, which was a year after my surgery. And
Amazing.
yeah, I kind of turned to sport, and it's got me becoming more and more unstoppable, I suppose.
And so just rewind a little bit back to when you first got poorly, because your illness was quite quick, wasn't it? It came on quite quickly and you were very, very poorly very, very quickly.
Yeah, relatively so. I was poorly when I was pregnant with my daughter. So I was probably about 3 or 4 months pregnant and was starting to bleed. And because I'd had miscarriages before, there was a worry that it might have been a miscarriage, but it was coming from the wrong part of my body. And from all the symptoms going back to the doctors with bleeding, stomach pains, cramps, it wasn't the baby. They had suspicions that it was an inflammatory bowel disease, but we couldn't check, we couldn't confirm that until we could do like an internal investigation. But you can't do that while I was still early pregnancy, really, first trimester. We didn't want a chance losing the baby. So I had to wait until I was nearly 6 months pregnant before they could actually do a colonoscopy to find out what was going on. And that just confirmed that I had got ulcerative colitis. For those who aren't familiar with it, it is an inflammatory bowel disease where your body thinks you are a virus. You know, we've all got autoimmune systems. Our immune systems are there to fight off viruses. And with something like this, which is an autoimmune disorder, my body thought I was the virus, so it was attacking me. So your body's immune system is attacking your own insides, which then causes ulceration, bleeding, and as a result of that, your body cannot absorb nutrients, so you become fatigued as well. So you've got blood loss, but you're becoming fatigued through lack of nutrition as well. So it can be a bit of a spiral. And the only way to suppress it at that point was steroids. But again, they couldn't do that until after Natasha was born, obviously just to protect her. So she was 2 weeks old when they put me on steroids, because I lost 2 stone in 2 weeks after giving birth, because she's just become emaciated, lack of nutrition. I couldn't feed her myself. She had to go on a bottle. So from her being 2 weeks old, I was put onto steroids. And then it was really a yo-yo from there on, for the next 4 years, pretty much, trying to keep this disease under control, because they give you the steroids to suppress it. The moment you get to a point where it's under control, you have to try and wean down off those steroids. But of course, we kept getting to a point where it would set off again. So it was a constant up and down of steroids. And
I think that's what people don't realize about steroid medication, is that although it can help you with whatever it is you've got going on, as a group of medications, they're really quite destructive in your body, aren't they? What steroids do
massively
to you.
Yeah, I mean, the steroids themselves have got horrible effects anyway. The physical effects that people see is the bloating, the typical moon face where you puff right up, and then the effects of that on your body, I mean, osteoarthritis, all sorts. So not only were we taking steroid tablets, I was taking tablets to counter the effects of the steroid tablets. So it was like, I think I was on 16 tablets a day, just taking effect on each one, trying to counter the effect of another one. So it was like a spiral. It really was quite a spiral of medication. But the steroids, I mean, that was the physical aspect. It bloated you. And for me, I could not look in the mirror, because as the time went on, the higher the dose, the bigger I blew up. And I couldn't even look in the mirror. I became really quite tearful, depressed with the way I looked. I would not look in the mirror. There are pictures of me out there now, which I can look at now and talk around it, because I can share the story and make people understand. But back then, I couldn't even look at my own reflection in the mirror without crying. So
and I know we talked about it. We talked about it when we spoke on the phone a couple of weeks ago about that, and about how that wasn't so much the gaining weight. It was that you were looked so poorly. You were so unwell, and you felt so unwell. And seeing that, looking back at you in the mirror, was really messing with your mental health, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, and steroids mess with your head as well. I mean, that's the other side. Steroids, high dose steroids, they really screw your head up. I mean, I'm a very gentle, easygoing, placid kind of person, but I became aggressive. I couldn't go to Tesco's. I couldn't do the shopping, because I would just have a rant and a hissy fit. If there were too many people around, I would just lose the plot and leave in floods of tears, deserting my trolley. And I'd got 2 small children, so I was not coping. My husband had to end up being the shopper, the chef, the babysitter, the everything, really. So because the steroids do.
Go on, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, so it's just that because the steroids mess up with your brain as well as your body, physically and mentally, it's just a battle. And having somebody there to help pick up the pieces was massive.
Yeah, because I'm going to first plug. I've been reading Caroline's book.
Oh, you've read it.
I've got it. I've not finished it yet. It's called Loo Rolls to Lycra, and there's a section in it when you talk about just before you decided to have surgery, and just how you'd got yourself into a situation, or you had got into a situation where you couldn't go anywhere with the kids on your own, because your system was so unreliable that you were worried that they wouldn't be safe. And so, like you say, your partner had to pick up all the pieces, and he did the groceries, and he did all the nappy change, because you talked in your book about an occasion when you had to you went to change a nappy, and you basically got stuck in the toilet because you had an attack, and you had to get the baby out of the toilet and take over while you were like
literally halfway through a nappy change in the ladies' toilet, I had a flare, I had an attack, and it was like, oh my God, I've got to go right this second. And I'd have to shout. My husband would have to come into the ladies' toilet and explain, I'm really sorry, my wife's really unwell. And he had to come and finish doing the nappy change in the ladies while I dashed off into a cubicle, because I was really that out of control. My body was that out of control.
And for people who don't know, and I know that you don't mind you don't mind talking about this, but for people who don't know what that actually means, it's just like an overwhelming need to go, I must go now, and we're talking
Literally
back end, and
seconds.
we're talking number twos.
Number twos, you have no control of number twos at all. I mean, literally, like that, you've got to go. If I don't go right this now, I would literally be walking along, clenching my butt, thinking, I
Are you
need the
talking
toilet
book
right now.
about a time when you came out the cinema right at the beginning of the book, and you're like behind a bush, and there's people coming
Yeah,
out of the cinema, and you're like, I can't get out of this damn shrubbery. I'm like, I'm
no,
going to be here until this passes. And I just thought, my
yeah.
God,
And I wasn't
terrible.
even in there just hiding. I was in there constantly ill because your body turns itself inside out. You have no
Mm.
control. It's like um, if you have severe food poisoning and you've lost all control, it's like that day in, day out. It's
But
like
all the
severe
time. Yeah.
all the time. And at any split second, you have to go. And it is like flushing your system out completely, but you have no control whatsoever, and you bleed with it as well. So because it's all ulcerated inside, and that's where you become fatigued.
Mhm.
And that particular occasion, after the cinema, it was a rare trip to even leave the house. To be perfectly honest, don't normally leave the house, and on that occasion, I hadn't really eaten all day. I'd kept everything calm, trying to do everything I could to make sure we got to the cinema, and it was just the two of us. Um, but I was used to that because for me, going out to work, trying to see clients, I think like that all the time. But that evening, my husband saw for firsthand, for the first time ever, exactly the impact it had on me when I was outside of the house. He could see me in
Mhm.
the house, but he'd never realised how sudden it is in the street. And I have to
Mhm.
find a bush, a tree, a
Mhm.
wall, whatever I can. And that was the night that we made the decision, because he just asked me, I think we need to install a portaloo in the car. And that was at the point I went, no, that's enough. That's
Um,
that's not my life choice. That is not my life choice. And that night came home and started to discuss, the options. The suggestion of surgery had been made by my consultant at the hospital, but you go, no, no, not surgery,
yeah,
not surgery, anything to avoid surgery because I didn't want a bag. Um,
yeah.
but that night, I thought, you know what, a bag's got to be better than this, and so
And it,
that's when we discussed it.
and so you made the decision, pretty major decision, to have pretty major surgery, and you
Yeah,
opted for a permanent stoma bag, didn't you? Rather than a, is
yeah.
it right to call it a stoma bag? Yeah, is that the
Well,
right?
the bag is what you put on. What you have on your body is your stoma. For me, it's an ileostomy because it comes off the end of my small intestine.
Hmm.
I had colitis, which was throughout my large intestine and my rectum. So that was what was removed. So everything from the end of my small intestine was cut out and removed. And I have what we call a Barbie butt. I'm all sewn up.
Made me
So
laugh when I read that in your book.
and
Made
it's
me
with an
high.
eye. People with ostomies, we have the girls have Barbie butts and the blokes have Ken butts, really, I suppose. Uh, but when we're all sewn up, not
No bum
everyone
hole.
chooses to. No,
Yeah.
and that's because I made it permanent. And this was one of the dilemmas because the choices were you either go permanent and have it all sewn up. There's no going back, or you can leave the very last section of the rectum there, which meant with further surgeries they could re-plumb you, for want of a better description, internally to link it up so that you could use your bum hole again. But to me, my colitis was still in that last little section. And I thought, what is the point of going through major surgery and still have colitis in my last little stump? And I thought, sorry, my choice was quality of life. That's
Yeah.
what mattered to me. I want to play with my kids because I wasn't even to be able to play with the children because it was so bad. And I thought, my priority is my family and quality of life. I want one surgery, get it done, get shot of it, and let's fix this and get on with our
Yeah.
lives. So I made the decision to make it permanent straight off the bat, really.
And when we spoke, I last time we spoke, I thought it was so interesting how you talk about that kind of life event, having that surgery, as being life changing, as you can imagine it would be, but in
Yeah,
all the best ways. Like, and not just that it made like that you were well again, or that you didn't have to be on such medication again, but it was kind of a bit of a moment for you, wasn't it, when you were just like, right, I've got a life and I'm going to live it now. Like really, you really had a shift,
Yeah.
didn't you?
Yeah. I mean, when I came out of the surgery, it's really bizarre because you go into surgery ill, and I came out of surgery not ill.
Yeah.
There was no recovery period, and that was a bit of a mind mess, just trying to get my head around like that, because the consultant came to me after surgery and took away all my tablets and went, you don't need any of these now, we're just weaning you off the steroids on very low dose. And that was like, you don't have colitis anymore. They literally cut the whole lot out, and that was odd. That was really bizarre.
Yeah.
But I was smiling, because actually, whilst I'd got a bag, it gave me my life. The bag gave me back control, and I think that was it. It's given me the control. It gave me freedom to go
Yeah.
out, because I'd
Yeah.
become completely housebound, hospitalized. I was intravenous steroids for a week in hospital in a private room, and I'd had 2 blood transfusions. So for me, yes, the thought of having a bag initially from the other side was like, oh my God, I don't know anyone with a bag. And I was sticking them on my body and looking in the mirror and getting really miserable. But actually, when I look at the alternatives, I realised that actually this is saving my life. And
Yeah.
after I came out of surgery, I was self-caring within 2 days, because I was so determined to get on with my life. And yeah, they discharged me within 2 days, sent me home. And you still have to recover. It's major surgery. You
Yeah.
still got to
Of
take it
course.
easy.
Of course.
But I was able to go home within 2 days, and it was mine was not only keyhole, but I had the world's first single site keyhole surgery. So the surgeon performed the whole lot through the one hole in my abdomen and brought my
Wow.
stoma out through it. Excuse me. So I've actually got no scars. He
Wow.
literally did it all through one hole, and it was the first one in the world. He was one of the leading surgeons in this type of surgery, and he just said to me, you're a white paper now. You're the first one to ever have it
That's
through a single
amazing.
hole. He said, it's fine for you. You're unconscious. He just took me about an hour longer than a normal keyhole would have. But yeah, it's the first one
And
that's
so
ever been
basically
performed.
you came out of surgery with no extra holes because they stitched one up and gave you a new one, yeah?
That's right. Yeah, got one hole. They just changed it. They just redirected it, really. So they redirected it to my abdomen. And the stoma
Yeah.
is basic. The stoma that comes out through the body is actually the end of your large intestine, because they bring that
Right.
out and turn it back and stitch it on. And that's what, if the stoma is really the end of your large
Yeah.
intestine, your small intestine, for my ileostomy. I mean, I have no control over it. With an ileostomy, what you eat goes through you. But I can manage it with how I eat, when I eat, and you get a pattern. You know your body. Everyone gets to know their own body, so I know how to manage mine in that way. But it's not like people go, oh, do you know when you're going, or can you choose when you go? It's not like other people who can choose to pop off to the toilet when they feel like it. It just works when it wants to work, which is why you have a bag,
Yeah.
just to collect the output. And yeah, it's no big deal. It's just different, that's all.
And so how did you go from being quite unwell to having your surgery to coming out of surgery to having this massive sense of relief about being well again or not being ill anymore to, I know, I'll become a triathlete? Because you couldn't even swim, could you?
No. When I came out of surgery and came home, first thing was, I never told any of my clients that I'd had this disease or surgery.
Because you work
Excuse
in
me.
PR and marketing,
Yeah,
that's your background, yeah.
yeah. I run my own PR and marketing agency. So the business was imploding when I was ill, because I couldn't go out to client meetings. I couldn't win new work. I'd had to let my staff go, because I hadn't got any more work coming in. So it was all going downwards. So
Yeah.
after surgery, I'd got some long-term clients, and I just remember after surgery, I took a week off, and obviously I was bedridden. Um, and I was in touch via emails, by phone. And one client said, oh, where did you go last week then? Did you have a holiday? And then I went, not quite. But I never told them. I was at risk that I didn't want to lose clients by saying, I'm ill, I'm going for surgery. It was already tough. I couldn't lose clients. So actually, I never mentioned it. And to this day, those people are still friends. There's still contacts with me. So I just got back to working from home, and I worked from my bed because by then I'd lost my staff. So rather than having my office, I just worked from home and rebuilt it. But then that was one aspect, but then it was the physical side, because I still was bloated from all the steroids. And that was the trigger. I thought, I want to lose this weight. I've got to be the old me. I want to be me again. I've got control. But couch potato Caroline is not an exercise person. I hated running. I've always hated running at school. You know, I'm not sporty, never been sporty. So I decided the only way I was going to do any kind of regular exercise was to actually sign up for something that I had to train for. You know, I had to be forced into doing it. So I was forcing myself into training. So I signed up to do London to Paris in 24 hours on a bike. Yeah, so that was the first event I decided to do. Considering my surgery was in March, this was in the November, I made the decision. And I thought, I better check with my GP that, you know, they always say if you're going to start anything new, just check with your GP. And I spoke to my GP and she was like, I don't know, Caroline. I mean, you've had major surgery. I don't know whether this is really possible. And I was like, well, you know, well, in my head, it was like, I really want to do it. What I didn't tell her is I'd actually already signed up. I was only doing it as a formality to ask her.
Just like,
and so
I'll
she
just
was
check in case it's going to invalidate my insurance.
yeah, things like that were probably going through my head. And I just remember her going, oh, I don't know. And I just said, well, look, let's see how can I see how we go? And she went, we'll do the training. And I just came out thinking, well, she didn't say I can't. So off I went to do the training.
And
so,
and
so
so you
I
just
think I'm back again.
Yeah, you are. And so you did
Okay.
the London to Paris bike ride a year after your surgery.
Yeah, I signed up for it in the November and I cycled to Paris in the July. So I only trained in that time. I hired a PT to get me fit. And when I told him that the average speed would need to be 18 miles an hour, he was going, oh, no, Caroline. I mean, you've never cycled really much before, so it must be kilometres an hour. And I went, no, and he looked at the pack and went, oh my God, we've got a lot of work to do. So I did actually have a PT to get me fit. And come July, I rode with a teammate and we did it relayed. Some people were going solo, but you know, that was pushing it. So I relayed it with my friend Doreen. For Scope, we raised money for charity on the way through. And we rode into Paris 24 hours after leaving London. So that was my first. So I did it to force myself to get fit and lose the weight. I needed a motivation. And then I slid back into couch potato mode for 2 years until my friends from London to Paris all went, hang on, we're going to do another one. Do you want to join us? And there's me. Oh, yeah, that sounds good. Let's do that. So I took on another one. And we did Newcastle to London in 24 hours, where it rained a lot. And then 5 years ago, I just thought, you know, I had no ambition to keep doing big endurance bike rides, but I wanted a new goal. I needed something new. And so I decided to learn to swim because my children swim like dolphins. They really are super swimmers. And I thought, you know what? I lost all that time when they were tiny. Natasha was 4, Robert was 6 when I had my surgery. So in those years, I didn't have time with them. I missed so much of their very young years, especially with steroids. You actually forget a lot as well.
Yeah.
And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to learn to swim so I can swim with the kids. And that's what I did. I joined my local swimming pool, started having lessons. I mean, I was a flounderer. I'm the sort of person who was terrified of water, and I just
You
swim
weren't
like this.
comfortable in water at all, were you? Like, as an
No,
adult who doesn't
terrified.
swim, the idea of going to learn to swim is pretty.
Oh, it's
You
scary.
couldn't swim. Could you not swim?
I would sort of doggy paddle on the surface with my head 2 meters
Right.
above the water level, sort of swimming.
So it was
But
more
I'd
not
never go.
drowning than swimming.
Yeah, it's more survival, and I'd never go out
Yeah.
of my depth, and I couldn't put my face in the water or any because I'd just panic, sheer panic.
Yeah.
But I decided I was going to learn to swim, just to swim with the kids. But that kind of made me think, oh, I can swim now. And I know I can ride a bike. I wonder whether a triathlon might be quite an interesting thing to do. So I thought I would just see if I could do like something local, because I just assumed anybody could run really. So, but that was
You have that
a
mindset of, oh,
false.
I've got 2 legs, I've got some trainers, it'll be all right.
Anybody can run. Yeah, it doesn't quite work like that.
Yeah.
So I went and joined the Tri Club, and I'd only been swimming about 3 months. I'd gone from beginner to intermediate over a 3-month period, and thought, well, my mindset is always, if you want to achieve things, you surround yourself with like-minded people. And I thought, well, if I want to know how to do a triathlon, I've got to meet triathletes. So I found the North Devon Tri Club, and just turned up one Sunday at one of their swimming sessions and said, I'd like to have a go. Could I join? So that's what I've done. I'm still a member of North Devon Tri Club even now. And so I just sort of got swept along with the camaraderie from the Tri Club. And I did do a little in-club try, which was terrifying. It was only a tiddly little sprint thing, but it was terrifying. And really from there, I was easily led, and I'll blame all my North Devon Tri mates for this, because we did the in-club try, and they'd go, oh, does anyone fancy doing XYZ try? Oh, anyone fancy doing outlaw half? And I'm going, yeah, sounds great. And then you realise I've never swum open water, and I'm stood on the edge of a lake ready to do a half Ironman distance. So I did get a bit swept along, but actually you've got to push your boundaries.
You sometimes need that though, don't you? Like if you're trying to achieve something, or if you're working on something that is not in your current realm of experience, having people around you who it is their space of confidence, you can really ride on that, can't you? And you can really benefit from that, and you can do amazing things. But you kind of just, there's an element of, you don't want to be the person that goes, oh, I can't do this. So you have to be the person that goes, I can do this, and then you just have to get on with it, you know?
It's a mindset. I mean, it was a lot of hard learning, huge hard learning. I remember sitting on the side of the pool in tears at one training session, because I realised how out of my league I was. But everyone was so lovely. You know, it was like, no, don't worry, just get in and do what you can. And, you know, I still go out training, swimming with them. I should have been there yesterday morning. Oh, no, this morning. Sorry, Sunday mornings. Swim training. Yeah. Yeah, I did this morning. So we're right at the end of the season at the moment. So I've got no other big races in my calendar now for the rest of this season. So for me, I sort of take my foot off the pedal a bit of recovery time. And now it's going to be more sort of fun training, bit of fun racing with the teammates, you know, fancy dress stuff around Christmas. So yeah.
And it's your thing now, isn't it? It's like you would self-define and are defined as a triathlete. It's kind of your thing.
Yeah, I still do my PR and marketing. I'm a PR consultant for during the day, and then when I'm not, I spin around like Wonder Woman and turn up in Lycra, and I do triathlons. So yeah,
and you
triathlon is my
Ironman distance triathlons now.
Yeah, that's the biggest one that I've attempted, the full Ironman. I went
so
for it this
talk
year.
about that. What's that disc? Because you'd done one a couple of weeks before we spoke last, I think, or maybe even a few days before we spoke.
It was probably a few days before, wasn't it? Yes, I was going for the full. Now the full is massive, and in the UK they're not very flat. They are hard. They're meant to be hard. A full Ironman is a 2.4 mile open water swim. Then it's 112 miles on a bike, and then you run a marathon on the end, 26.2 mile run. And you have to do it all within a time limit of 17 hours, but you've got cut-offs at each stage. So you have to finish the swim within 2 hours 20, or you can't proceed to the bike. And again, even within the bike, there are cut-off points, simply for safety reasons and road closure purposes, because the roads are closed while we race for those ones. So we have to.
Yeah, they have to close it for 3.5 weeks for me. Off the bike, pushing it. Stopping people.
So yeah, so those are the full distances, and that's my determination. That's the ultimate goal for me, is the full Ironman, to really achieve that. But I've done halves. I've achieved the halves. Last year I did 3 half Ironman distances in 1 year. Probably threw a lot in the calendar last year with some other shorter distances as well.
It was so funny when we spoke, because you were talking about that, and you talked about not hitting one of the time markers. And I said, so what happens then? Do they say to you, what do you do? And you said, I just kept going till they told me to stop.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was like, I'm going to cover as much as I could. As much as I could. I'm going to just keep on going unless they drag me off my bike. I'm just going to keep pedaling until I physically cannot proceed any further.
Until they're dragging you off your bike and throwing you in the back of the safety car and go, you have
absolutely.
to stop now.
You must stop now. And that did happen 3 years ago in 2016 at Bolton. I was struggling up a hill, and the sweeper van behind me, I could hear the engine revving behind me, and it was like, oh bugger, he's going to get me any minute now. And I just kept pedaling until he physically leant out the window and told me to stop cycling. I kept going, but they were lovely. They just went, I feel really bad about this, you're trying so hard, but I'm going to have to tell you to stop. So yeah. But so
have you always had that then? You always had that tenacity and determination, and it's just that you're now applying it to your sports, or is it something that came with the sporting activity?
I think I only recognised it with the sport, because if I look back, I mean, I became self-employed at the age of 26. So I got made redundant, set up my own business, thinking, do you know what, I can do this and I can do it well. So I probably had that. I've always had the tenacity to be determined and self-motivating, I suppose. So it was always there, but it was only in the sport that I've seen it come out more. I suppose because I see it's such short times, you know, in a race, you can go, right, I've got to get to the top of that hill. You can set your goals shorter.
Intangible.
Yeah, definitely. So that really motivates me, but it's having the people behind me as well, because with triathlon I've got teammates, I have my coach Simon de Burr from Triforce has been my rock, you know, getting me through my training, shouting at me when he needs to, and you know, making me feel guilty, which you have to. You know, you've got to put in the effort. If you want to achieve, you need somebody behind you to keep pushing you and coaching you and mentoring you along. And Simon has been doing that for me for the last 3 years, pushing me to try harder and harder. And, you know, okay, I don't always finish everything, but I will give it my best. And he and Billy, who are from the coaching team, they came out, I think it was in the last couple of years when I was doing a half Ironman, and they literally stood on the side of the race shouting at me, saying, no more walking, because it was on the run stage. And they said, you cannot do any walking, you have to run the whole loop. They were just telling me, you've only got half an hour, you're never going to finish. If you don't get around this loop in this time, you're never going to make it. And there's me thinking, oh my God, I've screwed up. I've messed up my times. I'm looking at my watch going, what have I done? What have I done? I've messed it up. So I dug deep, ran. It's only when I crossed the line with half an hour to spare, I found that they lied to me just to get me around. But
half an hour?
Hey ho. I came in time.
Some black eyes on that day if that had been me.
Well, they just said we needed to make sure you absolutely nailed it and gave it your best. So love them, really. They, you know.
And you probably wouldn't have pushed yourself like that had you not had those people around you.
Absolutely. I mean, I was working to a pace that I thought was right, but having them there shouting at me made me push harder. And I must say, actually, with everything I'm doing with triathlon and doing this with an ileostomy, the big thing that keeps me going is knowing that other people are watching what I do. You know, they're my motivation. Other people saying to me, oh, I've started doing couch to 5K. You know, I never thought I could do that. So for me, watching other people achieve at whatever level they want are my motivation.
Because you have become a little bit of a poster girl for the ileostomy community, haven't you? You're kind of like
yeah, I'm one of them that they all know. Ileostomy community tend to all know who I am because I'm very vocal about having an ileostomy. Outside of that, you know, in public, business networking groups, I share the story. My passion is to show others not to fear having surgery, and that having an ileostomy isn't a bad thing. Yes, it's different, but actually you can achieve so much. Everyone's different, everyone's experience is different, and everyone's surgery can be different. You know, just because mine was single site keyhole, others aren't. everybody's bodies are different. We're all unique. So we've all got a unique experience. But for me, it's about mindset of accepting, I don't know if that's quite the word, but appreciating that you've now got a stoma, you now have an ileostomy, and you can either let it drag you back or you can see it as a new release. For me, it was a new chapter. And so I'm actually a big advocate for the Ileostomy and Internal Pouch Association now, just saying to people that you can do things that you never thought possible. I mean, triathletes think that anyway if they're taking on Ironman, but do that with a bag. You know, I've got extra things I have to consider. My nutrition is different because I can only absorb a lower quantity. So what I mean by that is without a large intestine, my body doesn't absorb the nutrition in the same way from food that other people do, because your large intestine is that ring cycle in your body where it sucks out all the last fluid and nutrition from what you're eating and drinking. I don't have that. So for me, I have to take on more nutrition. I have to take on more electrolytes, because when anybody does any sport, you're losing salts and sugars through your skin through sweating. But somebody with an ileostomy can dehydrate faster because our bodies are not absorbing all the fluid that it potentially could, because you don't have that bit of your body. So for me, it's important to take on electrolytes in my training and racing so that I'm always topped up. So I've become very much more body aware, having an ileostomy, but it affects everybody. I mean, not just somebody with an ileostomy, you know, anyone doing a lot of intense training, anybody doing marathon running and stuff, don't drink just water thinking you're dehydrated, because you're actually going to wash more of it out. You need to think about what your body needs. And you know, the phrase fueling your body is actually what you are doing. You have to think about, what does my body need to work at this level.
When you're training, what does your nutrition look like? What do you, I'm interested, what do you kind of do?
Well, for me, particularly with the bikes, because the bike is the longest stage, and when I'm training in the run up to Ironman, I train 6 days a week, and I have one rest day on a Sunday, and normally Saturday is my big training day. So Simon plans all my training out for me. So a Saturday would probably look like a 6-hour bike ride. Then you ride back, drop your bike, put your shoes on and run for an hour, which we call a brick session. So you go bike to run straight away. So when I'm on the bike, I have to fuel up ready for the run as well. So I was making my own bars. I mean, there are plenty of things you can buy. Yeah, there's plenty of powders and bars and protein bars and carb bars and whatever. But because I know my body so well, there are certain foods that I find more difficult to digest, maybe, especially in a racing environment. So actually I designed my own and make my own energy bars. So when I'm on the bike, I'm eating knowing what my calories and carbohydrate intake are on an hourly basis. So it becomes a bit geeky. You know, the numbers is a numbers game.
When you become kind of what you would consider an elite athlete, it's more than just training your body, your muscles, and training you physically and working on your mindset. You have to become a bit of an expert nutritionalist as well, don't you? You have to be able to, you've got to understand your body like it's a machine to get the best out of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's where I rely on Simon. He's my lead on all of that, really, because he, as a coach, he is so up on that. He's the one who sort of guides us as to what we need to do. But, you know, I'm probably the first athlete he's ever had who's had an ileostomy. And of course you have to compromise. You know, my body takes food in different ways. So I have to work with that.
And what about the practicalities of when you're racing? Like, is that different? Because we were talking about how we were laughing about Sally Gunnell having to squat during the marathon.
Oh, yes.
And he was saying, well, I don't have to do that.
I just pull a bag off and slap a new one on if I needed to.
But practically speaking, is it different for you in terms of making sure that you're taking care of the site around the bag and, you know, all that kind of jazz, or not?
To be honest, I use a two-piece system, what we call a two-piece. You can have a bag that just sticks straight onto your skin over your stoma, or mine, I have a base plate that sticks on, and then you clip the bag onto that. And I like the two-piece because it means the bit that's attached to my body, if you tear that on and off a lot, if you were changing it regularly, you're going to tear your skin's going to be compromised.
Yeah.
But I like a two-piece because I can stick that bit on and it stays there. And then if I need to change the bag, I just unclip the bag and I can clip a fresh bag on.
Right.
And I tried so many different products when I was training to see what worked best, because there are so many choices of stoma products out there. You've got to find what works for you. And for me, the biggest issue was actually the swimming, finding what worked best in water. And when you think for Ironman, I'm in the water for about an hour and a half. You know, I need to have something that's going to stay well and truly stuck. So, you know, I've tested lots of different products to see what works best for me.
That's
but yeah, I don't.
Testing, isn't it, of stoma bags?
Is like it? Yeah, ultimate testing. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. But for me, I mean, I do have to have, when we have a transition between, when you get out of the water, we have the transition area where you come out, peel your wetsuit off, chuck your bike shoes on and your helmet and grab your bike and go. That transition area has portaloos and stuff in there for the athletes. So I know I need to dash in there on the way through, you know, often just to sort the bag quickly before I get on the bike and set off again. So, you know, and there are toilets around on the bike course and on the run course. So, yeah.
And obviously you still use a loo to go for a pee. So that's not, yeah.
No, that doesn't change. I'm not that elite. I'm not that elite that I pee on the bike, which is what the pros do. They can hang off the side of a saddle and do it. No way, no. So, but yeah, my bag isn't an issue, and I can tell if my bag is feeling heavy, if I need to stop, I need to change it or empty it. And it's just about being planning. I mean, athletes, we've always got fuel on us. You know, there's always food in your back pocket. There's always a banana, some gels, whatever you're using. But for me on my bike, there is always a tub with some spare stoma products. So if I'm caught out on the course somewhere and I need to change a bag, I've got some on the bike. And the same on the run, I tuck them in my pocket in the back of my tri-suit. So I've always got a couple of bags just in case. I've never really had to do that, but I like to have them there, knowing just in case. Yeah, for me it's just that reassurance that they're there.
And so you clearly enjoy it. You clearly enjoy the athleticism of it, and it does something for you. Like you feel like it's good for your mental health as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. For me, it was the fact that when I look back at how ill I was and out of control I was, now I'm in control. So for me, mentally, it's that in control now. And I just like to push the boundaries. I like to see what I can do. I love that target setting. I like goal setting. And that's where I have found I'm actually a goal-driven person. I probably didn't know that back then, but I do now. And actually right now, I haven't got anything booked in my calendar at the moment. And I'm at I need to find something to go in the calendar. So I've got another goal.
That when we spoke, because in my other life, I produced burlesque shows, and you said about, I've got a bit of post-race blues. And I said, oh yeah, after I've done a show, I get a glitter crash. And I have to have something to look forward to. I have to have the next thing that I'm working on to kind of it's not about not enjoying what you've got right now. Like I'm very much of the mindset that you enjoy the moment and you live in the now. And it's always good to have something to be working towards. And I think when you've been in a position where you felt like you didn't have anything to look forward to, that's even more important, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, massively so. Yeah. I mean, I had absolutely nothing to look forward to when I was poorly. I was missing out on so much, and there was no solution. You know, there was no answer to give me a life back. And I had to make those dramatic changes. So now it's actually exciting to put new things in the diary. I don't know quite what the next one will be. I knew you were going to ask. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Ironman itself is massive as an event, because the amount of training you have to do. It's up to 15 hours in a week over 6 days a week. You know, that's huge, and that's a big sacrifice to the family and work.
It's a part-time job.
It is really. And I would normally have been up in the pool at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning to do an hour and a half swim at least twice a week. Saturdays, you just wouldn't see me if I was doing a 6 or 7 hour bike ride and a run. And everything had to, awfully, but it revolved around when I was training. I couldn't go, do you know what? I won't do any today. You know, I've got a calendar full of training schedules that I have to hit. I mean, Simon
Yeah.
is planning it so I achieve certain targets, and he sets the plan, and so I have to do what he set so that I
Yeah.
achieve the goal. If I don't put the effort in, I'm not going to get the result I want. And that
Yeah.
goes in business. And this is where I talk to businesses. You know, if you want something, you've got to put in the graft.
Gotta put
And
the
if you're
graft
not
in.
able to, if you can't put the graft in or aren't prepared to put the graft in, you have to accept that you may not get that result you want. It's about being realistic with
Yeah.
targets and goals. And I think that's massive. And I won't do another full Ironman for at least another couple of years, at least, simply because of the time commitment it takes in training. So my coming year, I am still racing. I've got my Ileostomy Association tri-suit now because they very generously have supported me the last couple of years, and I have my tri-suit smothered in Ileostomy Association, and they've sponsored me, and I go out and do talks and all sorts for them as a ambassador for them, I suppose. So next year it's going to be racing maybe shorter distances, but doing them with my club mates, doing some fun stuff and just
But when
enjoying
you
it.
say shorter distances, what do you actually like? We're not talking
Oh,
like a
right.
jog around the block, are we? Like,
No, I mean, a sprint triathlon is well, there are super sprints, but the sprint triathlons are typically like a 500-meter swim. That might be in a pool or it might be outside. Then it might be something like a 25 kilometers on a bike and a 5K run. So that's the sprint. So I'll probably do some of them. Then you
just a
can double
little
it.
race.
That's the littlies. Then you double it. This is how you work it, because they're the sprint. Then you double it to make it an Olympic distance race. Then you double it again to become a half Ironman, and then you double that again to become your full Ironman. So
Jeez.
over the next year, it will be half Ironman and under. It will be those shorter ones.
Yeah.
So,
And
but
so I know there'll be people watching, because I know there are lots of people planning on watching on replay and stuff, but I know that there'll be people watching who feel inspired, but who maybe are thinking, triathlete, that's not going to be the work for me. But I do feel inspired that I'd like to do something with my body, to challenge my body, to get strong, to feel awesome.
yes,
So,
yeah,
and that's where you started. So what advice would you
absolutely.
give to someone who is in the position that you were before, when maybe they're not a very active person and they would like to get strong or they would like to get fit? Can you give some tips?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's going to have different goals, and what they're physically capable of, as well as time commitments, because families, etc. But I think it's just it's kind of dipping your toe in the water. If it's running, it could be you want to do a couch to 5K, that sort of thing. There are park runs, free running on a Saturday. Park runs are all over the country. And that's a great way just to go and get involved. You've got people around. It doesn't matter what your time is. You can walk it if you want to. I mean, I've run it with my dog in recent weeks. So it is just trying things in little ways. I mean, some people I've spoken to just struggle to even go out the house and get on a bus after they've had surgery.
Yeah.
But to her, the step was, I've got on a bus. I went into town on a bus. And it's the little things sometimes that are just as important as doing the things that are daft
And
what I
there's
do.
and there's quite a lot as well, isn't there? I think if you've been someone who, and I feel this, if you've been someone who has not traditionally been an active sporty person, aside from the physical side of it, there's quite a lot of mental stuff around, like the fear of going to, for example, joining a gym, and that like fear of what happens if everyone stands around and points at me and laughs at me, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like that. And we were talking about fear, weren't we, when we last spoke? And
yeah,
I've got a friend who does parkrun, and I've been, and I was really surprised at how inclusive parkrun was and how many people were actually
massively.
walking parkrun. I was like, oh,
Yes,
I could probably do this then. Like, it's okay to
yeah,
walk. I could probably do this. And no one was at the back going, run, you bastards, run. No one was doing that, which I was
absolutely,
scared was going to
absolutely.
happen.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
we talked with me
they're
about
massive.
that. Yeah. We talked with me about fear, and like that thing of moving yourself into something new where you are now and you want to be somewhere else. And in between those two things, there's this massive chasm of just terrifyingness. And you
Yeah,
said something, and I just thought, oh, she's bang on the button there when you were talking about the fear. And you said, um, that the worry is often worse than the actual thing that you're frightened of.
Massively so. Yeah, definitely. I think we all do it. We dread trying something new, but actually when you've tried it, you think, oh, I wasn't quite as bad as I thought it was going to be. And we do it with all walks of our life. We get scared of trying, and we can build it up into something massive in our head, thinking, oh God, it's going to be awful. And as you say, oh my God, they're going to laugh at me, they're going to point at me, they're going to see my extra rolls that I've got. Believe me, I've got extra rolls. I am by no means an athletic build, but actually it
You
is
don't need to be, do
inclusive.
you?
No, and when you go, people are so welcoming, especially in a club environment. I mean, I did that with the Tri Club. I just rocked up at one of their swim sessions, didn't know a soul, and I thought, oh well, here we go. But it was like they were so warm and welcoming. And in any of this, it is about just putting your foot over that line and having a little go at stuff. You can do it on your own, or you can find a club environment where you feel supported.
Yeah. And what would you, we're getting towards the end of our time, but I want to just see, what would you say to people who have people in their lives who maybe have issues like you had, or maybe they know someone who has ulcerative colitis, or they maybe know someone who has a bag? What do you want people to know about that maybe you feel like is a miseducation, or that not enough people are aware of?
I think it's the fear of what your life's going to be like with a bag. For those who've not yet had a bag, it's the fear of what it will be like. And again, it's never going to be as bad as you think it's going to be. You have to look at what my life is going to be like. What's this going to give me back? That's what I was doing. And the people around you need to be as educated as the person who's going through it or has it. Because I think when people around you understand, then you're not alone. I didn't know anybody with a bag when I had mine, and I reached out, and that's where I found this charity, the IA. I found the charity and I started to talk to people who'd already got stomas, and it was brilliant. They shared so much. I met them at meetings. I mean, they do visitors for people going out to their homes, and I've done that. I've been asked to go and visit people, just a friend of a friend, and said, oh, my mate's just had hers, could you go and see her? And I would. And it's the fear they have coming out of hospital, they can't do things. This poor lady thought that she couldn't eat particular biscuits, and it's like, no, it's not that you can't eat biscuits, and it's what I think we always worry, there's things I can't do now. And I actually go, don't worry about what the can'ts are, think about the can'ts. And I think with anything, it's about recognizing what you can do. And every one of us is different, and we're all going to have different limits. But actually, don't fear it. Sounds awful. Don't trust everything you read in the paper or on social media. There's a lot of scaremongering. It makes good news. But actually, talk to those who've already got it, those who are already living that positive lifestyle with it, and see how much it actually does rub off on you.
Seek out that community.
It is, and we're there for each other. That's the one thing, there is a community within it as well. So it's very, very positive, very positive.
And the Ileostomy Association is a national organisation?
It is, it's a national charity. The Ileostomy and
Internal
Find them
online?
Association. Yeah, they can find them at, I'll give their web address, I don't mind sharing, which is www.iasupport.org. And it's been going 65 years. It's a charity there to support everybody. Amazing. For their families, not just the individual, but the families supporting them as well.
Because that must be strange as well for someone who is, for your partner who's seeing you go through this, that you've got a lot of education to do yourself, and for your children, they need to understand as well, don't they? It's a big thing.
Massively. My children actually were a big part of me accepting mine as well, because I remember going into a cubicle thinking, oh, how am I going to change a bag in a public toilet? And my kids are going, oh, Mum, look at that. Oh, look at that. They were so intrigued by it that it's like, well, if they're not bothered, why am I? So you just, it is about education. It's educating. Children are fantastic. They say what they see.
I love it. I love it. How kids are such a great leveler. Yes. And so if people want to get your book, Loo Rolls to Lycra, it's a great read. I'm really enjoying it. I am a desperately slow reader and very easily distracted. but I'm really enjoying it. And actually, I'm kind of like, I don't think I'll ever be a triathlete, and but never say never. But it's what it's helping me to think is, do you know what I mean? There's power in feeling empowered in your own body, whatever that looks like.
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah,
what I'm getting
completely
from it.
agree.
You know?
Yeah,
And knowing
absolutely.
your body and trusting your body is massive,
Yeah,
regardless of what that looks
absolutely.
like. You know, so
Yeah,
so if
definitely.
people want to get your book, what's the best? I mean, we can get it everywhere, but what's the best way for you for them to get it? Because if they get it on Amazon, you're going to get like 3p, aren't you? So where's the
Yeah,
best place for
yeah,
them to get
really
it?
small royalties when it goes,
Yeah.
because I've got a publisher, it goes everywhere through them. But if you can buy it direct from me, I send you a signed copy, which you can't get anywhere else, unless you come and
Amazing.
see me speak. And that is at www.ironostomy.co.uk. So
We'll put the links in.
we'll put it on the
Yeah.
links afterwards. But yeah, you can order it direct from my own personal website, ironostomy.co.uk, and I can send that to you as a signed copy. And
Amazing.
then
I really recommend it. Great read.
speaking engagements, I've got carolinebramwell.co.uk, because I've been hired in by the police force twice to motivate and inspire police officers. So I'm now doing
Amazing.
inspirational speaking. So yeah,
So
it's
people
opened up a
can
whole
find
world.
you on. Sorry, go ahead. People can find you on the regular social media networks. You're on Instagram, Caroline Bramwell. You're on
Yep.
Facebook, Caroline
Yep.
Bramwell. If you search Caroline Bramwell, they'll find you.
And Ironostomy. If just search the word Caroline Ironostomy Bramwell, you'll find me through that as well on Facebook. Yeah, Twitter and Instagram. Yeah, all three platforms.
All the
And
social media.
there are some YouTubes, but I haven't done a lot with that of late, so I need to pull my finger out a bit.
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to rip this video and I'm going to put this on my YouTube channel as well. So if people are watching this on YouTube and you want to come back and find this page, you'll find me on Facebook, Heidi Mavir, Mavir, The Unstoppable Woman. And you can watch this on replay. Let us know if you're watching on replay. If you've got questions for Caroline and you want me to get them to her, I will make sure that I connect you guys. If you want some signposting, we'll both keep an eye on the comments on here anyway. If people ask questions and need some help. Bear with me while I just tell you who I've got next week, and then we'll wrap up. So next week I'm speaking to Gemma Kennedy. Gemma is, no, I'm not. That's the week after. Next week I'm speaking to, can't keep track, Lydia Burnsmeyer-Rullo. Lydia is a drag king performance artist and performance poet who's based in Manchester. She's frigging amazing. I love her. But the thing that she's going to speak about next week when we talk is she is someone who has been diagnosed with clinical depression. And she's in her 30s, and she kind of fell into working in the corporate world. She was working for a very well-known broadband and telephonics supplier, won't name them. Won't name them. I'm sure she might next week. But her dream job was to become a journalist and to work at the BBC. And she spent the past 2 years basically with that goal in mind. And she recently was offered exactly that position. So she's going to talk about not giving up on your dreams in your 30s, manifesting while you've got clinical depression, the ups and downs of being, you know, a 30-something black lesbian living in Manchester, working as a drag king by night and working in a call centre by day. So that's her thing. That's what it's going to be awesome. I'm really looking forward to it. So tune in next week for that. Is there anything else you want to say before we finish, Caroline?
No, I just want to say thank you so much for getting me up here, and I hope everyone gets something from it. Don't ever hold yourselves back. Give something a try, and I'm always here to chat. Always happy to talk openly and honestly with anybody who needs to, whether it's on the sport or ileostomy or anything really. But yeah, always here to listen.
It was so lovely to have you as my first
Thank you. Appreciate
Unstoppable.
it.
It was awesome. I really appreciate you giving us the time, and I think this has been so valuable, and lots of people get lots from this. So thank you so much. Genuinely, it's been awesome.
Anyway, thank you very much indeed.
Oh, lovely. All right, well, we'll call that a night. Thanks again. Join us next week at 7 o'clock on Sunday, and if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a share on all the networks, and we will see you all again soon. Bye, guys.
Bye.